in the 22nd year of Yongle, on July 18th, 1424, in the Du-Mu-Chuan area northwest of Dolan, Inner Mongolia, Emperor Zhou of the Ming dynasty, the third ruler of the dynasty, was nearing the end of his life, a ruler forged in war and always on horseback. He had been born of battle, and perhaps there was no more fitting end than to die on the field. Yet, in his final moments, he left no rousing words or a testament filled with profound sentiment. Instead uttering a puzzling phrase, "Xia Yuanji still loves me," Zhou believed that Xia Yuanji harbored affection for him. But he never realized that Xia Yuanji had never loved him as an individual. From beginning to end, the only thing Xia Yuanji ever truly loved was the country and its people. Zhou's last words about Xia Yuanji give us pause. Born toward the end of the Yuan dynasty, during a time when people suffered widespread hardship from continuous natural and human disasters, Xia Yuanji faced a life of adversity like so many others. His father died when he was young, leaving his mother to labor tirelessly to raise him. Xia Yuanji's hometown was in Ha Prefecture, though it has since disappeared. It is known only that his family moved multiple times before finally settling in Xiangyin County, Changsha Prefecture, Huguang Province. From an early age, Xia Yuanji was both clever and diligent. As he grew, he became well-versed in the classics and renowned for his scholarship across many villages in the region. At the age of 16, to help support his family, Xia Yuanji took a teaching position at a local private school. One cannot help but marvel at the contrast to today, when 16-year-olds are still finding their footing. While in the past, Xia Yuanji was already standing in front of a class, imparting knowledge to others. Through his outstanding work, Xia Yuanji was promoted multiple times and recognized as an exemplary teacher on numerous occasions. Eventually, he was recommended to the imperial court and became a student at the imperial college, the Guozijian, in the 23rd year of the Hangul era, or 1390. By this time, the Yuan dynasty had long fallen, and the Ming dynasty, founded by Xu Yuanzhang, had taken its place. The Guozijian was the highest educational institution in ancient China, dedicated to training the nation's finest talents. Leaving the small county of Xiangyin behind, Xia Yuanji encountered a vast world that made him feel small and sometimes bewildered. Understandably so, as Xia Yuanji was a young man just stepping out from his rural village into a world of immense scope, facing the insignificance of his own place within it. Still, he looked forward, his straw sandals taking one step at a time, for life is truly a journey that moves against the current. Life's path is not easy for anyone, though some say hardship is not worth celebrating. The author agrees that hardship itself is not something to glorify. However, the reality is that certain difficulties in life cannot be avoided. Thus, let us be like Xia Yuanji, bravely following our goals, even if equipped with nothing but a single reed leaf as a sail, still willing to face the open sea. The young talents of the Imperial Academy initially held ideals and aspirations in their hearts. Yet, the longer they spent there, the more they realized that the imperial court of the Ming dynasty was as deep and unfathomable as a bottomless lake, and true advancement was a real challenge. In the beginning, they worked diligently, striving to prove themselves, but no matter how hard they tried, it seemed their efforts went unnoticed by their superiors. As time passed, these once youthful scholars turned from young men to middle-aged men, and from middle-aged men to the elderly, squandering their youth and precious years until they found themselves merely treading water. The distance from the Imperial Academy to the Imperial Palace was more than just a few steps. It could, in fact, cost a lifetime. The students at the Imperial Academy, stifled in their dreams, gradually developed a negative outlook. They stopped devoting themselves to study and work, instead gathering for idle talk and neglecting their studies. Emperor Hangul, Xu Yuanzhang, who often made secret visits to the Imperial Academy, saw this scene unfold before him. Despite feeling somewhat disappointed with the majority of the students there, Zhou Yuanzhang noticed that one person stood apart on each of his visits, a young man undistracted by his surroundings, who never voiced complaints, remaining fully dedicated to his studies. That person was Xia Yuanji. Zhou Yuanzhang felt he had discovered a true treasure, for he believed that someone able to maintain his integrity in such a tempting environment was indeed rare. Zhou Yuanzhang's comment not only praised Xia Yuanji but also served as a reflection of his own values. Without hesitation, Zhou Yuanzhang immediately brought Xia Yuanji out of the Imperial Academy and appointed him as director of the Ministry of Revenue. Although the court was full of high-ranking officials, Xia Yuanji's post as director of the Ministry of Revenue was relatively low. However, this did not lessen Zhou Yuanzhang's fondness for him. Some colleagues in the court did not get along well with Xia Yuanji and often tried to undermine or accuse him before Zhou Yuanzhang. As we know, Zhou Yuanzhang was famous for his strict principle of better to kill by mistake than to let anyone slip. And he was not known for his mercy. Yet, when he heard slanders about Xia Yuanji, he defended him, praising him as diligent and possessing an admirable work ethic. In fact, he even executed officials who tried to defame Xia Yuanji, a testament to how highly Zhou Yuanzhang valued him. In the reign of the second emperor, the Jiangwen Emperor, Zhou Yunwen, Xia Yuanji continued to be held in high esteem. When Zhou Yunwen ascended the throne, he assigned Xia Yuanji an important role as Grand Ming Envoy, a special envoy position within the court with significant authority in local governance. Despite its moderate rank, of thousands of officials, only 24 were entrusted with such responsibility, a grueling test akin to marching 100,000 troops across a single log bridge. Every time Xia Yuanji visited a new province, he earnestly evaluated the work of local officials. He didn't just stop at basic duties. He often went directly into the field to understand the lives of ordinary citizens. His accomplishments quickly became well known, earning him praise and admiration from many. Following Jiangwen Emperor Zhou Yunwen's defeat, Emperor Yongle, Zhu Di, took the throne as the new ruler of the Ming, though Xia Yuanji, having been promoted by both Zhou Yuanzhang and Zhou Yunwen, was at a political disadvantage under Zhu Di. His good character and outstanding work ethic ultimately earned him a valued place in Yongle's court. Emperor Zhu Di, regarded as one of the greatest emperors in Chinese history, was unwavering in his principle. Trust a person without suspicion. If suspicious, do not use him. Without hesitation, he appointed Xia Yuanji as Minister of Revenue, equivalent to the Minister of Finance in the Ming Dynasty. From that moment, Xia Yuanji officially took charge of the empire's treasury. It was a chance encounter in a crowd that caused Emperor Zhu Di to notice Xia Yuanji's face, which left a lasting impression. This encounter marked the beginning of a strong bond between emperor and minister. Despite the seemingly unassuming nature of financial work, Xia Yuanji was not one to seek an easy life. When floods occurred, Zhu Di entrusted Xia with the responsibility of flood control. He often donned simple cloth garments, going directly to the affected areas to oversee the work personally. Despite cold winds and pouring rain, Xia Yuanji was always on the front lines, working tirelessly day and night. His colleagues urged him to take better care of himself, but he replied, "The people live in hardship. How can I enjoy comfort?" Every action and word of Xia Yuanji reflected his dedication to the welfare of the nation and its people. When famine struck the land, Xia Yuanji was once again sent by the court to provide disaster relief. He worked with utmost dedication, ensuring that essential supplies like rice, flour, and oil were delivered to every household. The people were deeply grateful. The once poor boy who had lost his father early and been raised by his mother had now returned to help the land that once nurtured him. As a way of repaying his roots, Xia Yuanji's legacy was not just his benevolence toward the people, but also his profound compassion. The well-known Prime Minister Yao Guangxiao once praised him, noting that Xia carried the spirit of benevolence from the days of ancient China, akin to the virtue seen in the spring and autumn period. After Emperor Zhu Di relocated the capital to Beijing, The halls of Taihe, Zhanghe, and Baohe were struck by lightning and burned to ashes in a single night. Zhu Di summoned his ministers to discuss the event, hoping to hear words of comfort and encouragement. However, he feared that the officials might interpret it as a divine warning, suggesting that the misfortunes in the palace were due to imperial missteps. Zhu Di yearned for reassurance, but the ministers did not meet his expectations. Rather than comforting him, they openly criticized his decisions, citing the toll northern military expeditions had taken on resources, the costly relocation to Beijing, and the emperor's southern journeys that had exhausted the populace. Furious at his ministers' criticism, Zhu Di nearly lost his composure, imprisoning hundreds of officials as punishment. Although Xia Yuanji was not directly involved, he was determined to appeal to Zhu Di for their release. Among those imprisoned were some who had once opposed Xia or even tried to undermine him. Nonetheless, he bravely spoke on their behalf, persuading Zhu Di to release the officials with a few wise words. When a rebellion broke out in Shandong, approximately 3,000 people were arrested. Xia Yuanji believed many of them were forced into participation, so he appealed to Emperor Zhu Di for leniency. Similarly, when Zhu Di's brother, Prince Gu, Zhu Su, rebelled and was captured, many innocent people were implicated. Out of compassion, Xia risked his life to vouch for these people, pledging even his family's safety to protect those he had never met. Emperor Zhu Di held Xia Yuanji in high esteem, and through years of working together, a complex bond formed between them. In millions, Zhu Di saw Xia's uniqueness: honest, compassionate, brave, and deeply kind-hearted. Xia was more of a friend to him than a typical court official. However, even friendships have moments of conflict. While Xia Yuanji always respected Zhu Di, he took issue with Zhu Di's frequent northern military campaigns. Initially, these campaigns were justifiable, given national security needs, but Zhu Di undertook 5 northern expeditions, which Xia saw as unnecessary. In the later expeditions, Zhu Di's drive seemed relentless, a determination that Xia perceived as unwarranted warfare. He feared these pursuits could drain the empire and weaken its people, as had happened during the eras of Emperor Wu of Han and Emperor Yang of Sui, where endless wars led to the collapse of their dynasties. As a loyal friend, Xia felt compelled to advise Zhu Di to cease and maintain the nation's stability. Zhu Di, with his formidable character, once pretending madness on the streets to deceive the court before seizing the throne and smiling even when called a rebel, took pride in his solitary nature, asserting that he was a fierce, lone predator, unbothered by others' opinions. Yet, Zhu Di had a friend who truly understood and cared for him, Xia Yuanji. But when Xia took an opposing stance and urged restraint, Zhu Di felt deeply hurt. Behind his fierce exterior, Zhu Di's heart was wounded by Xia's dissent. In response, Zhu Di stripped Xia of his official positions, imprisoned him, and ordered his assets confiscated. However, when the imperial guards conducted the confiscation, they found nothing of value in Xia's house beyond some old robes and a few cracked porcelain bowls. This from the Minister of Revenue, a high-ranking official overseeing state finances. Fuming, Zhu Di embarked on another northern expedition, perhaps intending to reconcile with Xia upon his return. But Zhu Di didn't anticipate that this would be his final campaign. He died at Yamechuan, looking back on his life, with 5 northern campaigns,
Sinaval Voyage,
and the creation of the Yongle Encyclopedia, which ushered in the prosperous Yongle era. Emperor Zhu Di felt he had little to regret, yet he carried one lingering sorrow. His old friend, Xia Yuanji, remained imprisoned. Silently, he thought, "Old friend, I won't have the chance to see you again. Now I realize your integrity. Perhaps you were right after all." News of Zhu Di's death spread to the Forbidden City, and Xia Yuanji wept in anguish, speechless with grief. The bond between ruler and minister ended there, forever frozen in time, after Emperor Xuanzong ascended the throne. Xia Yuanji was reinstated and continued his dedicated service to the court for 5 more years until he passed away, serving 5 emperors. From Zhu Yuanzhang to Zhu Qixin, Xia Yuanji completed a long and meaningful life in Jiangsu province. In the beautiful ancient town of Tiandang within the city of Qin, a town famed as the birthplace of Kungfu opera and the hometown of Wu Zhenyu, there lies a river called Shangshu Pe. This river, flowing from Wusong River to Lake Dian, is where a young Xia Yuanji once worked tirelessly to control the waters, leaving a lasting impression on the locals. Xia Yuanji's efforts to manage the waterway at Shangshu Pe earned him deep respect from the community. Formerly named Tiandang Pe, the river was later renamed Shangshu Pe to honor his contributions. Though Xia Yuanji has passed on, the river continues its flow, reminding all of his compassionate and virtuous legacy.